Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Esther Beck. I'm the Executive Director, Rodi Kenya. Rodi Kenya is an NGO in Kenya. We are 35 years old. Rodi works in prisoner rehabilitation on social and legal justice. We do agroecology to rehabilitate prisoners, and we work in 30 prisons in Kenya. In Kisumu here, we are working in Kodiaga prison and Kibos prison. In Kodiaga, we are working with 3 prisons, the maximum, the medium, and the women prison. And in Kibos, we are working in Kibos farm prison. We also work with refugees in Kakuma. We work with children in schools. We work with about 35 schools around where we have the prisons. And we do restorative justice and agroecology. In each of the schools that we work with, we have an agroecology garden where we work with the children, the parents, and the teachers to advocate for agroecology. We also do tree growing. We grow 1 million seedlings every year in large pieces of land. Currently, we're working in Machakos, Kiambu, and Nyeri to grow trees, and we have about 10 tree nurseries where we raise the seedlings and the farmers harvest the seedlings, manage the seedlings, and manage the forests that we grow for 3 years. We are also an organization that does advocacy. Rodi was one of the organizations that petitioned in Parliament for the removal of the toxic pesticides. We made several trips to Parliament. Initially, we started with the Agricultural Committee. We realized it wasn't working, so we went for the Health Committee, where we were able to influence the Health Committee people to realize that most of the non-communicable diseases that our people are suffering from are due to hazardous toxic pesticides. Rodi is a safe food and healthy food center for AFSA, which is a continental organization in Africa, where we advocate on growing safe and healthy food. We train people on making of biofertilizers and using biofertilizers. I have samples of the biofertilizers. Please remove this for me for them. Then we train farmers to make biofertilizers and use the biofertilizers for their production. And like I said when I spoke was that to start, you have to change the attitude and perceptions of people. It is challenging to start, to accept to do what you do, making these biofertilizers. But once you make them and use them and the soil start healing, the plants become resilient and they grow healthy. And when you have the resilience of healthy soil, you start having healthy food. So we need to know that the foundation of healthy eating and healthy food and safe food production is the soil. It's not the crop that you spray on top. It's how you take care of the soil, how you slow and sink water, like Caleb said, how you cover soil that heals the soil and give you the healthy, resilient, and resistant food that you're able to raise. The other thing we do is that we advocate for seed saving because we realize hybrids, and quite a number of these imported seed, is nutrient empty. So you'll be growing empty food. But if you grow indigenous food, you're growing food that is healthy and nutritious, and that's how we become healthy as people. Rodi has a resource center in Ruiru, where we do the trading and production of these biofertilizers, and you're welcome to visit us there and learn more about how to make these biofertilizers and to use them. But if you're going to do agroecology and practice, you first have to change your mind in the way you do agriculture, because you don't cultivate every day. You need to cover that soil. You need to feed it. You have to maintain the moisture content and plant trees along with the crops to be able to improve the soil that you have. And don't burn any organic waste that you have. We train farmers that you save all the leaves, you save all the grass, you save all the kitchen waste. That rice water you throw away is very healthy. That water that you use to wash the meat you get from the supermarket that has blood in it is very nutritious and very healthy for your farm. So we throw a lot of healthy water into our sewage. We feed the sewage, but we look for chlorinated water to water our crops. Most of these fertilizers that we have here are fermented fertilizers because that's where micronutrients grow. The waste from fruits, the waste from your kitchen is the best to feed the earthworms to get the liquid and to get the soil that you use to feed your soil. So first you have to transform yourself. I was an agroeconomist from Egerton University, but I had to change my mind and understand how nature works. Because even in the Bokashi biofertilizer, the most important ingredient that we use is forest soil. Because forest soil is the highest level of agroecology. And
Esther, you have 1 minute to summarize, please.
Okay, I'll finish. So the agroecology, the soil that we get from the forest, is what we put into our bokashi as we ferment it. It grows and multiplies, and that's what we take to the farm. Biofertilizers are not only fertilizers, but they're also inoculants. When you apply it in your soil, it will feed that plant, but it will remain in the soil and transform the soil gradually. So in 3 or 4 years, you might not need to apply much into that farm, but you are able to produce. We also grow food forests. Monoculture is not agroecology. You have to do companion planting for the crops to be able to work and improve the soil. And finally, once you choose to become an agroecology farmer, learn to eat and promote the food you eat. Because once you become addicted to eating organic food, you'll have a challenge eating the other food because the flavor for agroecology food is better. It is softer to handle. Issues of high pyroli and the challenges we have in our stomach are managed. And a lot of things do happen that happen on my farm where I use it on my tea and my coffee. My workers used to fear to take the children to the farm because children eat soy. But these days, they're healthier, the children are healthier, and we started seeing mushrooms and other indigenous crops growing within the coffee and the tea, and they're able to harvest the food that they harvest. That is the much I can share now. I have brochures and flyers of these products. I'll leave them behind for you to share. I have a very urgent meeting tomorrow in Nairobi. So immediately we finish this presentation, I will leave, but you can get in touch with me through email or you can call me. I'll leave my cards. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Esther. Let us clap for her. So, Esther, already they have a very interesting project about transforming inmates. That is, inmates are taught about organic agriculture. And then later on, when they are out of prison, they utilize the knowledge in transforming their lives, even transforming the lives of others. So thank you very much, Esther. Now I want to jump Sylvia and go to Lawrence Gitonga.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm Lawrence Gitonga Murioki from Organic Agriculture Center of Kenya. We are based in Murang'a County, but we are in Nyandarua, Embu, Kirinyaga, and Kiambu. Our main work is agroecology. When you talk of agroecology, we focus on connecting the environment, the soil, and the human. If the three are not connected, there is no life. We promote safe farming through training farmers on how to make their own biological inputs that are safe for their life, for the environment, and also for the soil. If we have dead soil, then we have no life. When doing that, we make sure that whatever that we are using as raw materials is coming from the local environment that we are working on. For example, when making this biofertilizer, which is safe for even you to drink, we use 3 main components: Tithonia, Lantana Camara, and Marigold, which have organic, what we call them, the organic active ingredients, such that on the 3rd day, when you are fermenting it, you get a pesticide that will eliminate all the pests that eat the leaves. But after that, when you expose it to oxygen, on the 4th, 5th day, it becomes organic and converts into plant nutrients. Then when I make it up to the 14 days, it converts into micronutrients and probiotic bacteria, such that if you ate the food today and your stomach is full of gas, you only need a cup from this and your health will be okay. So another thing that we do, we are providing farmers with more than 25 options of fertilizers that they can make in their farm. One of them being ash blue for controlling havens. We have a peachy which controls fall armyworm. We have nettle tea and plant tea, which they are substitutes to nitrogen and potassium in the plants. Then we also do fermented plant extract, which acts both as repellents and crop nutrients. We also encourage biodiversity. Any organic farmer who is doing less than 12 crops in their farms that are edible, then that farm is on the edge to die. You have to make sure you have 12 and above edible crops. Those edible crops, some of them will act as repellents, so the pressure for pests will reduce, and then after some time you do not need any other pesticide to control the pests. We also encourage plagues and predators, such that when you are spraying and you are controlling the insect, you don't kill the bee, you encourage the chameleon, you encourage the ladybird, then they control the band insects in your farm. So at the end of the day, you'll have a healthy farm. We also make sure that we are doing fungicides. A lot of people who are doing nyanya, spinach, they have the problem with fungicides. But I ask them, you sell milk every day, then you go to buy fungicide. While milk can become as a fungicide. You eat mandazi and chapati every day. You have baking powder, which has sodium bicarbonate. Use that to control and prevent fungal infections. Use lactic acid bacteria to make the...
Okay, thank you. I would like to cut you short. Can you mention on what you are doing about policy?
Okay. Other things we can speak to them later. We also did and participated together with the PELAM on Murang'a Agroecology Policy and Act on riparian and invasive species policies. And yesterday while we were here in Murang'a, we were launching the food pharmacy, such that instead of going to hospital and you are sent to the pharmacy to buy medicine, you are sent to us and we give you the herbs and the crops and the veggies that are going to control your health and you become more healthier. I think we are going to meet further because we have a lot that we can discuss. Okay. And Jeff, there was a question that I have to answer, please. Yeah. Somebody asked about acaricides and control of worms in livestock. At OAC, we have this product known as Nilex. This one is a dewormer for livestock. You give it for 7 days. You don't need to throw away the milk. And in fact, if you feel like you have typhoid or some stomach upset, you just get a spoon from this one and you take because it's from plant extracts. And then on the control of ticks, that is external worms in the livestock, we use what we call Teflosia, and also sometimes we use the hash from spider plant. Thank you.
Let us clap for him. Yeah, just before we go to Collins, I would want Esther and Lawrence to think about or maybe answer a question later on issues of Kenya Bureau of Standard. I do experience some challenges. Are these products certified? Yeah, please. So to request Collins, please come and share about alternatives and what you are doing at CREP to ensure that people, everyone, the consumers are living healthy.
Thank you very much, Jeff. My name is Colin Sucheng Otieno. I work for CREP program. CREP is an acronym for Community Rehabilitation and Environmental Protection Program. Our organization started as a CBO at the onset of ethnic clashes that were witnessed at the onset of multi-party politics. That was around 1992 when there were clashes. That's why that word rehabilitation exists. So we are about 30 years old. Currently, our core projects are on climate change adaptation, training farmers on how they can adapt to climate change hazards and risks, and 2, agroecology. Of course, in climate change, one of the key strategies that we are promoting is agroecology as a strategy for intervention. I will not go to the details so much because my 2 colleagues have explained some of the processes, but I just want to explain that our approach is in terms of training the farmers on the principles of agroecology. And we tell them that agroecology is not new. It's something that has been there, as many presenters have also highlighted, and it has 3 facets. It has the science, the practice, and the movement. And as farmers, their key role are mainly in the practice and the science. Of course, they can also be part of the movement, but they need also to bring other players to be part of the movement so that we can have more people supporting this as a real avenue for sustainable agriculture. Number 2, in our intervention, we use both community groups and schools as entry points. People had asked where we have the children. We work with school, in schools, primary schools and secondary schools, and we train them on agroecology. And we not only train them on how to use it, but we transform schools into models that can inspire them and their parents and the teachers to change their thinking about sustainable agriculture and how this can be replicated at home. We also involve parents that are close to the schools in the project so that they become agents of picking the technologies of agroecology to the community where they come from. And 3, I want to highlight the fact that we try to document our practices and our training and the results that come. The farmers that spoke here, 2 of the farmers work with us. We use that documentation as evidence to influence policy, more so at the county level. But through the national networks that we affiliated to, like Pelham Kenya and Scope Kenya, we also try to influence the national policies. So we are also involved in policy advocacy, and we work also with the civic society organizations who we build their capacity, bring them to forge networks for working together so that we have. We also train the farmers not just to remain as farmers, but be agents of other farmers in forums, like in public participation forums, so that they can give their voice during enactment of laws or reviews of policies, development of the CIDPs, and in the budget making processes, so that budgets can actually be allocated for some of these agroecological interventions. And on this end, we've had quite some good success. In Homa Bay County, where we were working, we influenced and they had to drop giving chemical fertilizer and instead gave different indigenous seeds. As Esther Beta said, we are also promoting conservation of indigenous seeds so that the farmers can try and get some of this indigenous seed, bulk it, share it so that we have diversity as a way of increasing resilience. So that's largely what we do. Maybe where there are questions, we'll be able to share. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. And I'm very happy to be here today just to share the work that we're doing. So as you said, my name is Sylvia Kuria. I'm an organic farmer of many years, about 16 years. And I'm also an entrepreneur. So we have a business known as Sylvia's Basket, where we've been retailing and selling organic produce. We work with smallholder farmers to ensure that, they have a consistent market for their products. So what I want to do is not to repeat. Number one, I promise I will not repeat what people have said, because I think after listening to almost everyone here, especially from morning to now, that we've actually seen that we have a lot of alternatives from the farmers. And, we've been sharing and preaching the gospel that it's possible to actually grow food organically, first starting with my sister there, Marie, who set the stage very well yesterday. Thanks, Marie. And also with the farmers who have shared about what they're doing. So for me, I think I just want to say, like being a farmer and an entrepreneur means that I have actually had a chance, or rather no choice, but to one, be very active in the policy space, whereby we're able to champion and work with the local government to ensure that we're able to mainstream agroecology. And secondly, also to document the processes. And just to share, I've really enjoyed this symposium, by the way, all the way from yesterday to today, just listening to the many presentations. And I just wonder, like with the students who are putting so much effort, I hope, like whatever you're sharing here is documented, that is going to be able to share our African story, and also, let me say, with our African names. It's very important that we are the ones who actually are in charge of our narrative and we are able to share our story. So for me, I just want to share a different part of being able to, just ensure that we're able to work with the farmers and to make sure that, the work that we're doing is well documented and shared. So I call myself a friend of the Heinrich Böll Foundation. I got to know about HBS and the Root to Food initiative in 2018. And I have all the documents here just to share the journey that I've walked with them. And I'm going to end with the Farmer's Guide, which is what we developed. So in 2019, though I met them in 2018, there was a documentary on the pesticide work. And this is the white paper report. Silke, I know you are very instrumental in working on this with Leila at the time. And this was the first time I actually got to interact with the issue of pesticides in Kenya. I had never heard of any report. I'd never seen any data. And, this was phenomenal. Unfortunately, in 2020, when the documentary was meant to be out and during the campaigns, COVID happened. So they, they really did a good job, but it was a bit curtailed. So this was the first document, which is the white paper report. And secondly, there was the scientific report on pesticides in the Kenyan market, which again, they worked with very closely with Esther of Rodi and also Biba. So this was also a very well-researched document. And, I don't know if they have enough copies here, but you can find it online. So this was the second document that was developed. And then thirdly, the Heinrich Böll Foundation globally normally comes up with like different topical discussions every year. And in 2022, it was on the pesticide atlas, which again was launched here in Kenya with our own African stories. And the soil atlas, which we also launched as HBS. And, like we worked with Silke and myself also to put this together. This was last year's work. Yeah. This year, I think, was for water? Yeah, this year's was the water. Oh, it's not done yet? Yeah. So this year was what? Yeah, it's going to come. So this year was water. But in 22 was the pesticide atlas. It also has very interesting articles about the use of pesticides in Kenya. And then in 2023, we actually had the toxic business report. And as you go through these reports, you'll find that they get simpler and also they become, like very readable with graphs and still very like relatable for us to be able to understand. So after the toxic business, I reached out again to the, like to HBS and I asked, is it possible we can actually develop a farmer's guide? This was very good, but a bit scientific. We shared it with our farmers, but they were a bit lost. And they were wondering, how do we understand these graphs? We're not really able to know how this applies to us. So, my dear friends at the Root to Food initiative said, let's work together with Silke and the team at Root to Food. And we developed this very nice A5 farmers resource guide. And what excites me about this guide is that one, it was not just written by Silke and myself because we are the co-authors, but we actually brought together a group of 20 farmers and civil society, and we even have some authors here. Please put up your hand if you helped us write this book. So there's Marie, there's Pramila, and who is my brother from Kwan? I don't know, maybe he has stepped out. Yes, come on. So we have 3 other authors who supported us, just to make sure that, Esther, did you send someone from paper? Yeah, I think, yeah, you're also there. So we basically were able to come together. And what's very exciting about this manual is that it's pictorial, it's very simple, anybody can understand. As we know, most of the farmers that we normally work with have studied until primary education. And we made sure that, even that farmer who has got to class 8 is able to use this resource guide and understand it very clearly from beginning to end. So my presentation was actually mainly discussing this resource guide, but I'll only take 1 more minute here, Jeff, please. So, and I was going to go through the resource guide and just to share on the different aspects of the guide and, like what makes it very exciting. But I'm going to point out one part that makes it very exciting for me. When farmers normally go to the agrovet, they can't tell, the active ingredient. And I think that was brought out by one of the presenters here from Moi University, I forget her name, whereby the farmers are not able to know the active ingredients. And one of the things that comes out very clearly in this resource guide is that we actually show the farmers with a picture on how to be able to get to the active ingredient. And at the very end of this resource guide, we actually have a chart which then has the names of all the active ingredients and the effect they have negatively on our health and the environment, so that farmers can actually be able to make an informed choice when they're actually buying their inputs. And for us to want to be able to, start this revolution from the ground up, we appreciate all the different actors in the food system. But imagine if the farmers are the ones who are making their own decisions on what inputs they are putting on their plants. I think this will be phenomenal. And on my last point, I want to give a call to action to all of us, especially concerning this farmers resource guide. So for the farmers, number 1, you have a resource guide on how to be able to transition, number 1. And everywhere I've gone and I've shared this resource guide, farmers are yearning for this information. If farmers have this information, would actually be able to have a revolution and, would actually see a very big difference in terms of the farmers being able to choose the right inputs. So for farmers, we have a resource, we have a guide on how to transition, and we can actually be able to grow food without using highly hazardous pesticides. For students, we have a number of students here. Very nice to see them here. We are able to learn, share, and ensure that, we are able to even work beyond what we have done in this resource guide to actually make this information, more readable and more accessible to the farmers that we work with. Academia, I would encourage you, please include this resource guide in your courses at the universities. It would be so exciting, because I've hosted students from Nairobi University, from Egerton University. Moi have not yet visited me, but the 2 universities have visited me, and they both have a course on organic farming. Why don't you use this resource guide and use it as part of the curriculum? So academia, that's a call to action for you. For researchers, how can we be able to bridge the gap between science and practice by using the principles that are well outlined in this book? And for entrepreneurs like myself also, we can be able to use this guide as a wonderful resource tool to make sure that as many farmers and even the consumers, as many as possible, can actually be able to make informed choices on how food is grown and how food is consumed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So basically, this is Patrick just explaining his experience with toxic pesticides and how they killed his coffee and how it affected his family. I can share the video later for those who are interested. So every year we have a campaign, we have a Lenten campaign, and this year the topic was Together We Can Harvest Success. So the issue of HHPs has been increasing, the trade is increasing very much, and we consulted with partners, and this issue was the issue of toxic pesticides was one of the issues we thought we could work together in different continents and try to do something. So as the action point of our campaign, we thought it would be very good that we could have a petition so that we get something out of it and make change. So we have a petition that has been running from March this year in Europe and in Africa. We are targeting the European Union to stop exporting these toxic pesticides to Africa, but also we are targeting the African Union to stop importing these pesticides in Africa. We are also targeting national governments. For example, in Uganda, we have a national campaign to ask the Ugandan government to stop importing these toxic pesticides. So we've had a lot of actions, and that's when we came to know with, to meet with some people here. Last week we had a webinar, a second webinar on the same issue on toxic pesticides. And we have realized that as much as we are creating awareness, most people both in Europe, many parts of the world don't know about these, double standards, injustice. I'm very happy everyone in this room understands this topic very well, but a lot of people don't know about it. Also, the farmers, they really don't know about it. They get angry, they want to do something. So we've been doing different things at the same time, but the petition is still there. And I'm kindly requesting you, if you agree with the petition, I've shared some small papers to be passed around, but also we are going to project the, sorry, Sylvia. I'll project the QR code of the main petition. And we are calling not only individuals, we're also calling organizations. And if you really want to be part of this, you can be part of it. And we want as many signatures as possible because we want to present them in the EU Parliament, but also at the African Union. And for me, I was very excited that I meet a lot of people who are also working on the same, who are sharing a lot of good evidence, good research, and people who we could hold hands together. So I'm kindly requesting, please sign the petition. Also get in touch with us to work together on the same issue, because for me, the most important thing is that these toxic pesticides don't come to Africa at all. From wherever, from Europe, from all other parts of the world, that's really important, because whether we like it or not, we are eating these things. We are eating them whether we like it or not. So I'm going to share the petition here, but I'm also looking forward to joining hands with other people who wants to be in this movement and make some change, do something. Of course, a lot of people are doing a lot of things about it, but also achieve something in the advocacy perspective.
Thank you, Jeff. In terms of the Kenyan Bureau of Standards, we have been satisfying our products with Kenyan Bureau of Standards because that is what most users in Kenya want to see. And also we take the Kilimo Hai mark. But a lot of users, because we want to target a lot of people to come into agroecology, we prefer to start with Kenyan Bureau of Standards. But the problem that comes in, you face a lot of handles and a lot of delays by the time you get your product, organic product, getting the Kenyan Bureau of Standards, especially if it's competing with multinational products. But with the Kenyan Bureau of Standards, sometimes you get a good facilitation as long as you have the report from accredited laboratories, and you take the journey for 1 to 2 years. You might take even 2 years. The other thing that we are not able to get, like now here we have biopesticides. The Kenyan Bureau of Standards could not certify it as a biopesticide. So we use it as biophoria, though we know it's going to control the pesticide. But when we go to cavies and fish, pest and produce, the poisons bond, you are not getting through. We have taken them like 5 times. They say you have to make the trials. Any organic product, when we make trials with farmers, it works. But they want you to test it for 10, 15 years. But now, if they want you to test it for 10 to 15 years, here fall armyworm, the one for the fall armyworm, the chemical one, was it subjected to 10? Only less than 1 year. So why do they want us to take it 10 years while it's working with farmers? So it's just a race tactics before you can get. But for Kenyan Bureau of Standards, as long as you are not putting it under pesticides, you are putting it under 4 year, you get the clearance.
Okay, thank you.
I want to confirm what he has said, but the biggest problem is that who funds our policies? Who funds our policies? Who pays for those policies to be written? For you to get something registered insecticide, you have to pay about 7 million plus. Still, there'll be competition from multinational organizations. So most of these products that we have, like the ones in Rodi, we are actually Mohai certified. But we have faced challenges because we are in Nairobi to get the certification from KEBS, because they know people will leave what is in the supermarket, in the aggregate, and use yours. And one thing that nobody said yesterday, I want to say today is, where are people working in aggregates to train? Are they graduates from universities? Do they hold PhDs? Do they have the knowledge to pass information? Because we are trusting, I would call quacks to tell us how to apply agrochemicals. And a lot of them are advising our farmers to mix 3 to 4 different chemicals in one knapsack to cut costs. But you actually create a chemical that is more drastic than what it should be doing. So I think our government, to call upon our government to first put together an institution and create and structure a system that creates people who will work in aggregates. If you go to a pharmacy that is selling human medicine, you have to be a pharmacist, qualified. And even if they are selling on the counter, they have to have qualifications. But in our aggregates, we have qualified aggregates, veterinarians, selling what farmers are using. And farmers buy the cheapest, it's the most little, they spray today. If it doesn't work, they repeat tomorrow, and they repeat the day after. And that's a lot of toxicity, and that's what destroys the micronutrients in our soils and make our lands desert and dead and dust.
Okay, thank you.
You know, like for us in the space of entrepreneurship, we have to get into policy. So I'd like to encourage Gitonga and Esther. If you have products, we're actually right now working with KEBS and PCPB and KEFIS through ISFA. ISFA is the Intersectoral Forum for Agroecology and Agrobiodiversity that works with thematic working groups. So we are working together with Pramila in the private sector, thematic working groups, and working now to see how we can be able to have inclusive policies for organic inputs. So please don't suffer on your own. Join our thematic working group. We are now working with government right now, and we'll support you to be able to get all your products branded with KEBS mark. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia.
And Anthem. I would like to thank the panelists for all the information they have shared with us. My question goes to Madam Esther. You talked about using water from rice, water washed from meat, being corrected under sewage and then applied to our soil or our crops. But from my information, these rice plantations themselves are sprayed with chemicals. The meat itself, these animals are injected with a lot of drugs. So are we not using that water, which I feel is contaminated, under organic farming, to treat the soil, solving a problem with another? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So my name is Annette Juma. I'm a master's student from Marcelo University.
We cannot hear you.
Oh, my name is Annette Juma. I'm a master's student under the Anthem program from Marcelo University. So I really liked when Gitonga was presenting, and just also being sure that at least now we can see that these alternatives can be produced and they are farmers centered. So I have a question for him, and maybe others can also answer. So how do you ensure that even as you're integrating the traditional ecological knowledge and scientific research into the production of these alternatives, or maybe to ensure they're effective and they improve, but also how do you ensure that the community members are also able to own them and also own their innovations and benefit from them without it being now put as a rich people thing and also being just distributed without giving these people the credit and also the credit to their knowledge that they also bring into the production of these innovations. So how do you ensure that they are locally owned, locally used, and locally benefiting to the community that produces them? Thank you.
I know one.
Thank you. Recently, we just celebrated the UN Resolution 1325, which deals about how women survive in conflict. And when you're looking at the conflict areas, when you're speaking about working in Palestine and working also in DRC, my question is that how does sustainable food systems work for women in conflict? Because a tool for women in destroying spaces like that is where war is used to destroy any system of agroecology. So what are we doing to ensure that when we are sustaining food systems, we are also considering how women in conflict or post-conflict situations are able to engage holistically?
From the air. That's what makes the difference. Fermentation is able to reduce a bit of that toxicity. When we do the fermented fertilizer, the waste from the rumen, from the cow, which has a lot of that microbacteria, is what we use to do the best supermagro. The livestock would have been fed with GMO maize or whatever. But the substance that comes out after fermentation might not be as toxic as when it is fresh. And we are not going to run away that we are working around toxicity. If you can eat that rice and eat that meat and it is toxic, the soil can also eat it.
On the indigenous knowledge, when we work with farmers, we make trials on their farms and we improve in conjunction with other researchers. Most of our product we work with ISIPE to make sure that we are going all those trials. Then when we start producing for sale, the first people to benefit are the farmers who are producing that product. We also connect them to the market. So they are the main producers and they are the main sellers. What they cannot be able now to produce on their own is what now we take to our factory and produce to package for others. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. How are women engaged in sustainable food systems in areas of conflict? Well, in Palestine and Israel, we have a humanitarian approach. So we don't use sustainable food systems on that. I said we do human rights. We also deal with extractives in Latin America and Congo. But also, and now other countries in Africa, we use sustainable food systems. And agroecology is the main approach. But in Congo, we are also using sustainable food systems because after extractives, you need to restore, and also you need to make sure that these people are able to produce some food. Yeah, so that's the only thing I can say for now.